For our Cartesian coordinates, we used to seeing Cartesian coordinates with y-axis and x-axis, and we used to having just a line. But there are cases where we could have about 2-3 lines on our Cartesian coordinates. Now, if we have 2 lines on the Cartesian coordinates, the 2 lines meet at an angle. Let's call this angle alpha. Now, if this is alpha, now let's call this angle. Each of the lines meet the x-axis and the y-axis also at angles. Let's call this angle alpha 1, and for this other line, let's call it alpha. Because in this lesson, our focus will be finding the acute angle between 2 lines. Now back to this our Cartesian coordinate. If I have an angle alpha and I have angle alpha 1 and alpha 2, remember that from this forms a triangle. Let's label this triangle O. Let's call this place A, and let's call this B. From triangle OAB, we'll know that alpha 1 plus alpha, let's have an angle here, plus what you have here, let's call it y, plus y is equals to 180 degrees. That's sum of angles in a triangle. Now, an alpha 2, you notice that alpha 2 also plus y, alpha 2 plus y is also equals to 180 degrees. So that if alpha 1 minus alpha plus, this is a plus alpha plus y is equals to 180, and alpha 2 plus y is equals to 180, then alpha 1 plus alpha plus y is equals to alpha 2 plus y. Now, if this is y comes to the other side, it becomes alpha 1 plus alpha is equals to alpha 2 plus y minus y. So that alpha 1 plus alpha is equals to alpha 2. What I want to establish is the fact that alpha 1 here plus this angle is equals to this angle outside. Now, you remember that if alpha 1 plus alpha 2 is equals to alpha 2, then I can conclude that alpha is equals to alpha 2 minus alpha 1. Remember from our last lesson, where we explained gradient of a line, we concluded that the tan of the angle, that's the tan of alpha 1, the tan of this angle it makes with this axis is the same thing as the gradient of the line. So that if tan of alpha is equals to m, I can conclude that the tan of alpha 2, which is alpha 2 here, is equals to m2. The tan of alpha 1 is equals to m1. Now from trigonometry, remember from trigonometry that if I have alpha 1 to be equals to alpha 2 minus alpha 1, then the tan of alpha is equals to the tan of alpha 2 minus alpha 1. And from the same trigonometry, the tan of alpha 2 minus alpha 1 is equals to the tan of alpha 2 minus tan of alpha 1 all over 1 plus tan alpha 2 tan alpha 1. At the same time, remember, I can now conclude that the tan of alpha 2 minus alpha 1, which is the same thing as the tan of alpha, is the same thing as we've agreed that tan alpha 2 is equals to m2, is equals to m2 minus tan alpha 1 also, which is equals to m1 all over 1 plus m2 m1. Now, to find an acute angle, we'll be taking the absolute value of tan alpha, which is equals to the absolute value of m2 minus m1 all over 1 plus m2 m1. Now let's get started with our examples. For the first example, we'll be looking at the angle between 4y plus 3x minus 2 and x minus 2y is equals to 3. I want us to first remember the angle of the equation of a straight line, which says y is equals to mx plus c. So we'll pick each of these equations and we'll express them in the form of y is equals to mx plus c. Remember that in this equation, my m is the gradient of the line. Now, so that my 4y, if 4y plus 3x is equals to 2, 4y will be equals to 3x is equals to 2 minus 3x. Remember, we're going to make y the subject of the formula. We'll divide through by 4, so that y now will be equals to 2 over 4 minus 3 over 4x. So from this equation, let's call this our 1. I can conclude that my m1 is equals to minus 3 over 4. Now let's take the second equation. We have x minus 2y to be equals to 3, so that minus 2y will be equals to 3 minus x. And dividing both sides by minus 2y, my y will be equals to 3 over minus 2 minus x over minus 2. So y now will be equals to minus 3 over 2 plus 1 over 2x. From this point, we can conclude that my m2 will be equals to half. Now, let's get our equation for an acute angle between the two lines. To find the angle between the two lines, we'll be saying that tan alpha will be equals to the absolute value between m2 minus m1 all over 1 plus m2 m1. So that tan alpha will be equals to my m2 is the same thing as half minus 3 over 4 all over 1 plus half into minus 3 over 4, which is equals to half minus 3 over 4, that's plus 3 over 4 all over 1 minus, because of the minus I have here, this becomes minus 3 times 1, that's 3, 2 times 4, that's 8. Now this expression is the same thing as I have 4, that's 2 plus 3 over, here I have 8, that's 8 minus 3. So that tan alpha is equals to 2 plus 3, that's 5 over 4, all over 8 minus 3, that's 5 over 8. So that this is equals to 5 over 4 divided by 5 over 8, which is the same thing as 5 over 4 times 8 over 5. 5 here is 1, 5 here is 1. 4 here is 1, 4 here is 2, which is equals to 2. So if tan alpha is equals to 2, then alpha is equals to the tan inverse of 2. You can use your calculator to check for the tan inverse of 2. Now, so that the tan inverse of 2 will be the same thing as 63.435 degrees. Let's look at the second question. But I want you to pause this video and try the second question by yourself. Now, okay, for the second question, we're given that y is equals to 5x minus 2. If y is equals to 5x minus 2, comparing it with y is equals to mx plus c, obviously my m1 here is what? Is 5. So I can let's call 5. Let's call it my m2. That's my m2. And for the second equation, y again minus 3x plus 1 is equals to 0. So that y here will be equals to 3x minus 1. Comparing it again with y is equals to mx plus c, my m here is equals to 3. So let's call that my m1. So 3 will be equals to my m1. Now, my tan alpha, remember, is equals to m2 minus m1 all over 1 plus m2 m1, the absolute value. So that tan alpha will now be equals to the absolute value of 5 minus 3 all over 1 plus, here is 5 into 3. So that's equals to the absolute value. 5 minus 3 is 2 over 1 plus 15. That's equals to 2 over 16, which is equals to 1 over 1 over 8 is the same thing as 0.125. Now, the alpha, the tan inverse of 0.125 from my calculator is the same thing as 7.125 degrees. Now, thank you for staying with us and have a nice day.